welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Stirring the Pot. We've got an off-season special here. There was an episode that didn't air earlier on, and it was Don Brusco and myself had a little special episode about the Carolina Panthers and the history of that team. It was a little bit of a longer episode. We talked about the entire franchise's length. It was great. Talking about it from back in the 90s when they became a expansion franchise. But this one we're talking about a different team, a team that's been in the news a lot recently because of a lot of transactions that have gone on. Now this team has been going on the downturn ever since they drafted somebody at quarterback who they were originally tanking for. I think you catch my drift here. We're going to be talking about the Miami Dolphins. Shout out Jonathan Rains of the Daily Athenaeum. I know he's going through it right now as a Miami Dolphin fan. Don't know how you come to be a Dolphins fan from this area. I mean, there's no professional teams. I feel like most of them are Steelers fans. But
he's a Suns basketball fan, too.
That should say all you need to know.
He's a Suns fan?
Mm-hmm. That sucks.
What?
I don't understand it, but here we are.
Yeah, well, here we are. I guess Daily Athenaeum and U92's favorite, Cody Burton, is a Tampa Bay Rays and Oklahoma City Thunder fan, so it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense out here.
Today is he's a Packers fan, too.
Today is the Daily Athenaeum's day of giving, as they would call it. So we're giving Jonathan Rains a nice episode where we talk about his wonderful team and how they won on an absolute, well, they're a dumpster fire right now.
It's a dumpster fire.
It's not looking good. Actually, they've been a dumpster fire for a few years. They look good on the outside, but on the inside, just ugly.
People talk about it as a Lamborghini with a Volvo engine. It's fun, and it looks really good on the outside. It's a lot of fun. You get to look at it. It's very aesthetically pleasing. But then you get down into the nitty-gritty, and this thing can only go about 50 miles an hour.
H-An's pretty much the Lamborghini in the trailer park.
Yeah, the Bugatti in the Bugatti in the hood.
Exactly. It's like Game of Thrones. It was good for a brief period of time. Then you get to the end of it, and it was ugly. And you wish you would never have seen it. It ruined everything.
Yeah, I don't know why y'all are being sad. I love this. This is so much fun.
I
might win some games in Division this year.
It was pretty fun. It was pretty fun for me the other day. It was so much fun.
Guy said we, by the way. So we're going to start in 2021, where you saw a little bit of a downturn in the Miami Dolphins. This was the last year of Brian Flores, former head coach, and there was a big debacle about Brian Flores and his firing. There's a lot of Dolphins fans on Reddit still talking about the fact that they don't owe Brian Flores anything, and that is what we like to call whitewashing. So I think there's a lot of different things going on with this organization. It's been going on for a while. Let's just go through the stats of this 2021 season. This team somehow, by some grace of the good Lord Almighty, went 9-8. I don't know how.
Brian Flores effect, probably.
It's because he has a good defensive scheme, but looking at these stats, this was one of Tua's first years in the league. That was the quarterback that we mentioned at the start. Tua was the tank for Tua, and I think it's pretty safe to say that you shouldn't have tanked for Tua. But this year, he went 7-5. I believe he got injured during this year, only started 12 games. Jacoby Brissett came into 11 games this year. That should tell you all you need to know.
They used to do like the Brissett goal line thing when he still had some legs going.
I mean, keep in mind, though, there was like a big relationship problem between Flores and Tua. I don't think Flores was really on the same page to draft the guy. Wasn't really a big supporter of him. So already there were as soon as Tua got there from Bama, I mean it got off to a really rocky start. Not a very healthy relationship. No real room to grow. I mean, was there really any room for this guy to grow? No. But Flores did not want him, and for a good reason.
I mean, if you want to talk about relationship problems, the biggest one out of this was Brian Flores and Stephen Ross. I mean, when you get called into a meeting saying, you aren't losing enough, I don't like you, you're fired, I don't know really what that shows. I mean, with the NBA tanking problem, we've seen that. And in the NFL, it's maybe more privatized, but still. I mean, well, as a coach, Brian Flores won games with Miami. I mean, he had multiple winning seasons, but Stephen Ross didn't want to win.
I mean, this is not going to be a very positive podcast to Stephen Ross. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a tampering scandal we'll get to in a bit when he tried to get Tom Brady to come there. But what makes the season so just kind of crazy, and that firing was really shocking at the time. It was a completely shocking firing because they started 1-7 and then won 7 games in a row to end with 9-8 record. Missed the playoffs still, but it was like almost earnest of what you saw the Lions do. Kind of think around that same time, maybe a year later when they kind of had that rough start, and you kind of saw the kind of flashes there. But to fire your coach after that, pretty shocking. Obviously, there was that disconnect there. Also, they wanted to trade for Deshaun Watson. I think didn't Flores want him, I remember?
I believe he did.
Flores didn't like Tua. He was probably right about that. I'm not going to lie. But on this year, they had a pretty good draft class this year. And I think that's a big reason why they were so successful. I mean, Waddle, Jalen Phillips, Javon Holland, Eichenberg's a starter. Maybe not a very good one, but those are 4 guys who are probably your contributions on that team for a couple of years.
I would just like to say that all of those names that you mentioned are no longer Dolphins.
Doesn't surprise me.
No, for good reason.
Was that Tommy
that's really
Eichenberg?
Liam Eichenberg.
Oh,
They didn't want to be there.
Yeah, Jalen Waddle is, we'll get to that later on with the transactions of the current Dolphins that have been making headway through the media. They lost all of those players to pretty large contracts, and you can't really blame the players for wanting to get out of this kind of toxic environment. So in this season, Tua went 7-5. 16 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. Sounds about Tua. 2,600 yards. He did only play in 13 games, so Jacoby Brissett almost got up to his attempts numbers. So, I mean, it was kind of, I believe Tua got hurt this year. This was one of the first concussion years?
It was a rib injury, I believe.
The rib injury, that's what it was. I knew there was some kind of injury that hindered him.
I mean, this is the beginning of, has Tua ever had a healthy season? Well, we'll figure this out right now.
I do not think so.
Maybe his rookie year.
I think he was healthy in the year where they scored I think it was healthy in 2023 when they scored all those points against Denver.
Tua did score. Tua did have about 4,500 passing yards one of his years, so I believe he did have one full healthy season. I think it was 2023.
Didn't Jacoby start the year, though?
You know what?
Like the first 4 or 5
makes sense because that was the year where they had the playoff run.
Yes, that would make sense.
Not a run, but an appearance.
Run, quote-unquote run. Yeah, there's... like John said, they went on a pretty much a heater at the end of the year. Started the season 1-7. Then won 7 straight, and then lost win, ending on a win to the Patriots. That was a interesting season to say the least for the Dolphins. But the big turmoil was with Brian Flores and the front office of the Miami Dolphins. There was a large scandal going on there. They thought it was because of racial things, and it was because of tanking, and it was just a complete mess. But on the bright side, this team did have a little bit of an outlook with their younger players. Mike Gesicki started to break out this year, had 780 yards and 2 touchdowns. You had Jalen Waddle, rookie season, getting 1,000 yards. I believe he's one of the best rookie Dolphin receivers of all time because of that. And there's been a few really good ones, just like Devontae Parker on this list. There's a lot of good names on this team, but one of the main reasons we want to talk about this year is because we have a Don Brusco favorite on this team.
A few
Don Brusco favorites.
1 or 2
but
who really helped the team.
One of the main ones, played in all 17 games, started 10, starting tailback Myles Gaskin.
Oh, yeah. This was
former Washington Husky.
This was like peak year for Myles Gaskin.
Yeah, 600 yards.
In fantasy. Oh, yeah, really good.
Only just went downhill.
He was known as that third down power back. I found that somewhere in an article, and I just keep using that to this day. He benched more than Aaron Donald. That's been mentioned before in the combine. Can he do that? Can he actually bench more than Aaron Donald? Oh, probably not. Definitely not. He also played professional not pickleball, wiffle ball. Sorry, I was thinking about something else. But
yeah, me and Dom are entering a pickleball tournament this weekend
for a charity competition. Please don't go.
Yeah, please don't watch us.
We're only familiar. We're not professionals.
That is not true. We're really good.
You also had Salvin Ahmed on this team too. He was a good running back. Another good guy. Really helped to pick up the sticks. I mean, you talk about players on this team. Whenever you mentioned this year of Miami, I only think of Myles Gaskin. Tua's not even important. I think this was the year, I don't know which year it was, where instead of saying Tagovailoa, you said turn the ball over.
That started like the day he got in the league, that started.
That did.
That's what it was. So for 2021, he was, I think, the normal starter by then because that was probably the injury year because it was 2020 week 8 when he got his first start.
That's what it was.
2020 he just didn't start because it was just Fitzpatrick started.
Yeah.
And he made his
Fitzmagic.
debut against the Jets in a blowout.
Harvard
Of course he
grad.
did.
So next season, 2022, this is where this team starts to look a little interesting. So this is the first year of Mike McDaniel. It is certainly an era for the Miami Dolphins. I don't know, you can take that in a good way or a bad way. This team finished second in the AFC East. This was a pretty weak AFC East year. It was the Bills and the Dolphins.
No, that was like the one respectable Jets year.
Well, where they had like
And
7
we had
wins.
like 8 wins, which is very good for our standards.
Respectable.
This is why everybody thought we had
Should tell
hope.
you all you need to know.
Well, this isn't the Jets story. This is the Dolphins story
That
because
it is.
Thank God.
Jets are irrelevant as of today.
Poverty
But-
franchise Steelers dumb. How many playoff wins you got since
Yeah,
2016?
the Dolphins. The Dolphins
Well, about
were
the same as you.
in 2022. The Dolphins were 11th in scoring, and this was partly due to the fact that they got a very big name wide receiver into their building this year. This was the ballistic Tyreek Hill year. This is when Tyreek Hill was a hot commodity in fantasy league. 1,700 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns. This is what everyone thought he was going to go for 2,000.
Oh, is this the year he got arrested too before the game?
No, that was the year after.
Ah.
Um,
Yeah, that was the year I drafted him first round in fantasy, of course.
Because of this year. There's a lot of names on this team. This team had a lot of firepower. Jalen Waddle did not drop a pass this year. That was really fun. Tyreek Hill had 119 catches on 170 targets. This guy was getting spammed.
And they had
10 catches a game.
I think this was Devon. Was this not Devon A. Chain's first rookie year?
No, that was
It was
23.
not.
Oh, it was
It
not.
was not. This
Okay.
was Raheem Mostert.
This was Raheem Mostert.
And
Yes.
former Niner Jeff Wilson.
This is the year before Raheem Mostert went absolutely
This
buck
is when
wild.
Mike McDaniel just said, "Hey, get me all those Niners running backs."
Yeah, this is Jeff Wilson on this team as well. You have Cedric Wilson on this team too, Trent Sherfield, Mike Gesicki. There's a lot of names on this team. Myles Gaskin was still on the team. He played in 4 games.
10 total carries.
Started none. His total carries was 10 for 26 yards. That should tell you all you need to
Hey,
know.
it's better than Zach Charbonnet.
Yes, but this was also a shared year at quarterback. Tua only started 13 games. I believe this was the first concussion.
This was the year that was all that drama about how they were handling his concussions.
Was
this?
this-
This was the year where he had like 2 in 1 week. Because remember, he goes out on the Thursday game. I think against what was the game where he had the hands up, the fencing reaction.
Buffalo
Everybody's
game. It was
scared.
the
I think it was
So I think he
Buffalo.
went out against the Bengals
He went out
in the
against
Thursday night
us.
game.
Yes.
And then they cleared him to play the next week, and then he got
Yeah.
cussed again, and that was when he had the
That
fencing
was
reaction.
week
That
3
was
and 4.
that was week 4. This was the bully Bengals because I believe this was the DeMar Hamlin year.
Oh,
Yes.
So they were making the Bengals out to
Wait.
be
Okay,
villains.
so playoff run is next year.
playoff run is
No,
next
they
year,
make the
yes.
playoffs this year.
They did make the playoffs this year.
And
I don't
actually,
think they
that
won a
game was
game.
actually a lot closer than I thought.
they
looking
play?
at the score.
Was-
They played
the
Buffalo.
Bills.
Skylar Thompson started.
Oh, this was Skylar
They
Thompson.
only lost by 3.
And Skylar Thompson actually had
34-31.
because this was the split
Close.
year between Tua and Teddy Bridgewater.
But Bridgewater
Bridgewater was
didn't
Bridgewater
play.
was 0-2. This was the tail end of Teddy Bridgewater's
I think
career
one of
before
those
he went into
games.
coaching.
I think one of those games I was against the Jets. He went out with the first play. I remember. It's really a Thompson
yes. Yes, he did.
That was before he went to Detroit, right?
game. Yes.
But Skylar Thompson in the playoffs had about as Skylar Thompson of a start as you could want. Lost the game 18 for 45, 220 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks.
He was just airing that ball out.
Yep.
Oh my!
Kind
you-
of had to.
You love to see it.
I can't believe that game was that close. I remember that game being like very unnotable. That was a
But
that was a very respectable loss. Like
This was definitely a okay. Maybe we're getting somewhere year for the Dolphins. There was a lot of stuff going on with this year. They lost in the wild card. This was Mike McDaniel might actually be the guy at this point. We were thinking that they had a very high-powered offense. They had one of the star receivers in the league coming over from Kansas City. This guy might actually be the solution. And then you get a little more hope in 2023. 11-6 for the Miami Dolphins, finishing just behind the Buffalo Bills yet again. Mike McDaniel had them scoring at the second most points in the league, 496. And this was all down to some offensive output. This was the year where Tua Tagovailoa had 4,600 yards, led the league in passing yards. This is where the Dolphins thought, okay, we're cooking something here. And there was a lot of offensive output on this team. This was a ballistic year for Tyreek Hill and Raheem Mostert. 1,800 yards basically for Tyreek Hill, 13 touchdowns. And then Raheem Mostert with 18 rushing touchdowns on 1,000 yards. He averaged about 5 yards a carry, And this was the first year of Devon Achane because we had the double-headed monster in the backfield of Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane.
Well, this is the year where they scored 70 points against Denver, and what was a hilarious game to look back on, I think.
But the only thing about this season, I think this was a season where people had some doubt about Miami, because the only teams that they beat this year were below 500. Anytime they would play a team above 500, they would lose. And their record was they made it to the playoffs, yes, but it was a funny way in which they made it. They had the stats. They couldn't seem to get it together against teams that were actually good.
I think this is
they had a fairly easy schedule in this year.
I think this is also the start of when there was all the whole Tua can't play in cold weather. Because remember, for the playoff game,
game was
they go to
terrible.
KC. It's like 2 degrees outside. Mahomes' helmet cracks. It's that cold, and they just lose in just a boring game,
I believe that was the second coldest playoff game of all time.
which is crazy in Missouri.
Yeah. It was like negative.
I just want to mention,
something.
as we start talking about why this team did collapse, at this point in time, the past 2 years, they are making like no draft picks. Take a guess how many draft picks they have in these in 2022 and 23 combined. How many picks they have in total?
7.
8.
8
Total. 8 total draft picks. None in the first 2 rounds. 2022, they had traded Philadelphia in the Waddle move up.
Tyreek
traded
Hill.
to KC for something. I don't remember. Tyreek Hill.
This was the future
Tyreek
picks
Hill.
that they gave up for
John,
Tyreek.
and then they have in the 2022 draft class. I mean, Channing Tindall's the best player in that class. He's not a very good player. They got Thompson in the 7th round with their last pick. In 2023, I mean, you get Cam Smith, who I guess existed. Achane's the big one, but other than that, you're just not adding talent to this roster. I think as they start to look at why this team kind of fell apart, despite these promise talking about in these 2 seasons right now, they just aren't adding young talent to their roster that's cheap.
And
I think cheap is the big thing.
A big problem was the O-line. Another problem, their defense just seemed to crumble.
They're
times.
gonna lose a key O lineman this offseason. We're going to get to.
This is one thing about that defense. They did have a pretty much in the prime of his career, Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey was balling.
I don't think
for
he's
this
there
team.
yet.
He was 2023.
He got
was
traded
a pro-
after the Super Bowl.
He was a Pro Bowler.
The fact
Yes,
that was 3 years ago.
I believe his contract.
Oh yeah,
was
I
up.
do remember that. 'Cause I remember
Did
he got.
he get traded or did he just get signed?
I think he just
It
got
was a
signed.
trade.
I think it was a trade. It was a trade.
Because the Rams had to cut cost because I think they had to extend somebody.
There's one name on here that I'm seeing. I wonder why the defense was collapsing.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it.
They have a certain guy that I'm not very fond of on this cornerback room. It's Eli Apple. And you wonder why this team is crumbling at times.
That would
You
explain
wonder.
it.
But there was Deshaun Elliott on this team. This team had a lot of firepower in the secondary. Xavier Howard before he ended up getting hurt. This was very young Javon Holland. They had AVG on the defense too. This defense was pretty loaded. And there's a name on here. Hey Dom, how you doing?
Which name are you
Chase
going to say?
Claypool.
Oh, this was, I think, I don't know. They started bringing in a bunch of random backup receivers. They had I think was this the Claypool, Chosen Anderson?
Yep.
Event. I don't think OBJ gets there now, but probably a year or two after this.
No. It wasn't Chosen Anderson. It was Robbie Chosen
Robbie Chosen.
at this point.
Robbie Chosen, Chase Claypool. I think Will Fuller V was technically on the roster too.
I believe he was suspended.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might have been a bit earlier. But
That might have been like 2020.
talking about 2023 before we move on, this is also a big year because they lose 2 of their edge rushers to bad injuries. They lose Jalen Phillips at MetLife.
Bradley Chubb too, didn't it?
Yep, and Chubb later in the year. Both miss rest of the season. They're not there for the playoff loss, which maybe they could have made. I mean, it's the Chiefs. I'm not sure
Made
they
it
could
more
have, but
respectable.
at least been give them a better shot. And I believe both of them missed the next season after that as well.
Yeah, and let me.
I think Phillips did because Phillips
had like 2 in a row. I
that's
think.
where he first started it. That Miami injury first started. Then he did it again.
Yeah, Chubb missed 2023 and 2024.
Now
and
he's a
then-
Carolina Panther.
Yeah, and this was the 3rd straight year in 3 years of Jalen Waddle over 1,000 receiving yards. This was this guy is a stud. They might want to see if this guy can be their wide receiver 1 for the long-term future. Newsflash, didn't happen. But we will get into that in the later seasons that we get into. This team, like Dom said, while they did have the 2nd most points for in the league, they were 22nd of 32 in points against. So this defense wasn't really doing a whole lot. They did have a lot of firepower, but as John said, they lost a lot to injury at some point during the season. When you lose your 2 best edge rushers, it's kind of hard to come back from it.
This
But
is basically their prime.
this is the prime Dolphins.
We're at the peak of the mountain. Now
Yes.
you just push the wagon down the hill.
Tyreek Hill gets MVP votes this year.
This is the Sisyphus.
He gets
fate.
arrested. No.
No, he's not arrested. I think
Oh
that's
my gosh.
that's the year after.
I forgot who was their DC in 23. It's Vic Fangio.
Yes, it was.
Yes,
Right.
that's a pretty notable loss going next year.
Okay, now we get to 2024. This is where, for lack of better terms, this is when human excretion starts to hit the fan. Can't say that word. But Tua, when he played, wasn't bad. He was pretty good this year. He had a 73% completion percentage, 2,800 yards, 19 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. I believe that's one of the best touchdown-interception ratios of his career to date. So it was looking up at some point for the Dolphins. This is when you started to see Devon Achane really develop as that number one guy for them. 900 yards on the ground, 600 yards in the air, 12 total touchdowns for him this year. This was a bit of a waning Tyreek Hill. This was his 30-year-old season, didn't have 1,000 yards, played all 17 games. This is probably the year you drafted Tyreek Hill, Dom. This is when Tyreek Hill started.
This is our sophomore year for us.
This was the McQueen is fading year.
I drafted him 1 of 1 too. I thought he was gonna be so good.
A lot of people did.
And then I'm like, right before the game, I just see this like tweet that says, "Oh, Tyreek Hill got arrested before the game." I'm like, "Oh, that's great." And then he did the celebration. Well, he played the game and did the celebration during the game and got heavily fined.
The handcuff celebration.
That was such an insane situation when you have your agent going on ESPN saying, like, yeah, we're going to get it handled. He's playing today. And then he actually ends up doing – I think he had a pretty decent game,
That was
too.
the Jags.
That was
The Jags league won that year. But, I mean, going into this season, the offseason, they kind of got – I think the big reason why this team kind of just, as we mentioned before, with the draft, they're not bringing in cheap talent, and they lost a lot of contributors in this offseason. Christian Wilkins, gone to the Raiders. Robert Hunt, big loss in the offensive line, gone to Carolina. Andrew Van Ginkel had a great year for the Vikings right after he leaves Miami. Xavier Howard, who kind of had fallen off a bit, but was still a contributor for a while, off. And then Connor Williams, the center, left free agency.
This is way past
And
Xavier
so
Howard.
it kind of goes back to, like, I think one of the big issues with this team is just roster building. Like, they spent so much on the high end and getting those, like, flashy players, but they neglected kind of the trenches and the more nitty-gritty kind of bottom part of that roster you need with the offensive line and the defensive line. Obviously, you're still missing those two edge rushers at this time. When you lose Van Ginkel, it's just you're building up a really nice exterior, but the interior is really weak. And then when Tua goes down, it kind of means that you lose what you had.
This is also the year where the conspiracy starts to, rumor starts to spread around. The opinions created that McDaniel is not really a good coach because of the previous year and him only being above 500 teams. He just can't seem to get it together, the team together. Yeah, you can have as many offensive weapons as you have, but still there's a glaring issue with other problems on the team that do not get fixed, have not been fixed. The team, you can only do so much with a good offense, and it shows. Because as soon as one piece falls out of his system, everything just seems to collapse, and it's not good. Not only that, but they had a harder schedule this year. And anytime you play just a good team with both sides being complementary, that's above 500, like a division leader like Buffalo, they typically would get like absolutely destroyed, like embarrassed. Because I remember there was multiple games where they played the Bills where they just got like. It just wasn't even – there was multiple games. It wasn't even close.
Yeah, it was terrible. And the thing I actually forgot to mention is that before this 2023 season kicked off, we mentioned the tampering situation a little bit. They lost their first rounder in 23 and a third in 2024. And I think it's the mix of that. And when you don't find younger talent through the draft in the middle rounds, you can see the teams like as of recent, the Los Angeles Rams. You're getting guys on cheaper contracts who are outplaying their money value, and guess what? You're winning more games because then you have more cap space to go around more different spots of the roster. But defense, especially, we talked about it. This was not good. The offense you had to a T, but defensively you were bottom third of the league. You're going to collapse on yourself.
Exactly. And through this year, there was a lot of trials and tribulations for the Dolphins this year. A fantasy manager's best friend was born this year. And it was my fantasy manager's best friend. This was the emergence of Jonnu Smith. This is when Jonnu Smith went on that mega run at the end of the year. This is what won me the fantasy league, by the way. Jonnu Smith dropped 30 back-to-back weeks. This guy was on one. 88 catches for 884 yards, most of that coming in the back half of the season. But there was a lot of firepower on this team as well. They just weren't able to use it to the best of their ability, and the defense kind of bit them in this one. This was a year, I believe, that they did have Teron Armstead. This team, this is the direction where, Storm Duck mentioned. Former Penn State, Alabama, then Penn State again. But this team is the direction, where are we going?
And I mean,
this is where we didn't know.
This is they started the year 2-6. Obviously, that was when Tua was hurt. When Tua came back, they were 6-3. Like, it's respectable. Like, I remember they were in playoff conversations, but when you look at these wins, they beat a bad Jaguars team, a bad Patriots team. They beat the Rams, which is crazy to look back on. The Raiders, the Pats, the Jets,
the Browns,
the crippled Niners, the Browns, and they're losing to the Packers, Buffalo lose.
They did end up losing the season finale to the Jets.
That was like a joke game. That was when Rodgers stat padded to end his career there, honestly.
Crazy.
Snoop only started that game. Fun fact.
They lost to the Tennessee Titans as well. This was the beginning of the rebuilding Titans.
No.
That was not fun.
That was Will Levis in his prime.
I think this was the year they gave them a lot of primetime games too, and they
did.
just,
They had the
terrible
Thanksgiving
games.
night game that year.
Yes, they did.
Which is why?
Because that was terrible.
In Lambeau in November. What did you think was going to happen?
I remember that Tennessee game. I think it was a Thursday nighter that they played each other. Why would you put that on Thursday Night Football?
I know they played
don't
Buffalo
why you
on
would.
Thursday night because that was when Tua got hurt.
Oh, that's just like when the Jets were always primetime because of Rodgers.
Because of Rodgers, yeah. At least that made sense.
Oh, that was so
back
bad.
in week 2. I think
Awful,
they were
oh my
on
God.
Thursday.
And now we get to current day. This is last season for the Miami Dolphins. This was bad. This was really bad. It looked like they were going to be one of the worst teams in the league. They somehow, by some grace of God, went 7-10. I don't know how. I really don't. They went on a 4-game win streak against the Bills, the Saints, the Jets, and the Commanders. That's why. But they beat the Buccaneers at the end of the season, and they lost pretty handily to the Pats at the end. But, they beat the Jets. Shocker there. Twice. They swept them.
We've never beaten Tua. The Jets have never beaten Tua ever. Fun fact. They've never beaten. It's a hilarious. It's probably my favorite Jets fact. They never beat Tua. Every time they've beat the Dolphins over these years, it was someone else was starting. Thompson started.
Do you guys play the NFC South this year?
No, we put him last year.
I was going to say that's an automatic loss then.
Yeah.
You guys are going to lose to the Falcons.
You'll never guess who the Jets play this year again.
The Browns.
The Browns for the third year in a row.
All right,
They're both always less.
This season was one to forget for the Dolphins. There was a lot of positives that you can take out of this season. The 25th out of 32 in points for, 24th out of 32 in points against. Not very good at all. This was another Mike McDaniel year. This is when his job really came into question because they started this season 1-6.
And I think what's bad about this is we did the hot seat for it. I think I had him going right after Callahan. I was positive they were going to fire him really soon because it just did not. It just seems to be the same thing over and over again, and he could not beat winning teams. He couldn't do it. He couldn't help himself.
It was a mix of that, and then that Browns game was just so terrible from an offensive perspective. I believe that's when Tua finally got benched.
I thought that was going to be it. I thought
that's
that
what I
was
thought.
when
I'm like,
he was going to get
I
fired.
can't believe the Browns are going to be the team that get McDaniel canned.
Well, the GM got canned after that.
Yeah, that's what it was.
The players had an individual meeting without McDaniel because I think they were done with him. And not only that, but he was just you'll see if you go on, TikTok, whatever, and you find his press interviews, he was just bad.
This is when
levels of Gerard Mayo bad level of
Mick Cronin bad.
Bill Simmons gave him the nickname DJ Mikey D because he always just wore these crazy fits on the sideline and just stupid press conferences.
Nothing beats
which
the
is
off-white.
hilarious.
Where some people
DJ
thought
Mikey.
he was just vaping on the sidelines instead of caring for winning games.
Wasn't it the off-white shoes and ankle socks or something?
Hey, what was the fit against you? I have to pull up from these fits. I'm sorry. I have to pull these up.
Nothing beats when Sunday Night Football went to half and they zoomed in on McDaniel and they just ran away from the camera.
Oh,
I don't know why. It's just a lasting memory.
And I forget the quote, like something about getting points. You need more points than the other team
beat the
to
other
win
team,
games.
yeah.
Oh, wow. No kidding. Man.
So profound. But
Oh my god.
John found something.
No, it's just a picture of Mike McDaniel at his presser. It's the Spirit Halloween costume. It's just clueless head coach.
That sounds about right.
He was trying to aura farm.
This was a team full of memes for the Miami Dolphins because they signed a certain somebody who decided to go into the song making business. Darren Waller.
He cooked the Jets that one game.
He had like 2 good games.
He had 2 touchdowns on Sauce Gardner's head, and the Colts saw it and like, yeah, that's 2 first-round picks.
He had 2 good games. This was the second year back-to-back where the Dolphins didn't have a 1,000-yard receiver. This was the year Tyreek Hill died.
Yeah, against the Jets. Yep. And also, Teron Armstead retired.
Yes, he did.
Big loss for that team.
Gruesome leg injury for Tyreek Hill. I don't even know if he's going to play football again. No, he's not. He's still hurt. Yeah, he's going to be hurt like all season, too.
I don't think he ever will, honestly. It was one of the worst injuries.
But there were a few positives to take out of this season for the Dolphins. And I know there wasn't a lot, but they did trot out Quinn Ewers, and he sucked. Oh. So that means they had to pick up a quarterback. We'll get to that in a minute. But you did get the full breakout of Devon Achane. This guy went nuts. He had 1,300 yards and 8 touchdowns on the ground, 5.7 yards per carry. He led the league in yards per carry, and he did get 67 receptions for 488 yards and 4 touchdowns. This guy really proved himself as a bona fide stud for the Dolphins.
I'll forget the positive was their GM got fired because, I mean, looking back on these drafts. These drafts are bad, man.
Chris Greer's terrible.
These drafts are bad. Like, Chad Robinson, I know he's a Penn State guy, Connor, has not looked the part so far in the league. Patrick Paul, probably their best pick. Kenneth Grant didn't do anything. Jonas Savaianai didn't do anything. I mean, when you don't even have that many shots and you miss all the shots you do take, it's just like, how can you build a capable roster this way?
Yeah,
they also drafted Ollie Gordon. That's right. I forgot about that.
Okay, he was actually good. He was a good one.
There was another slight emergence on this team as well in Malik Washington. He started to look very good for the Dolphins. Kind of put him in as a serviceable in-and-out kind of wide receiver. But this really became clear that this was Jalen Waddle's wide receiver core. And that's really funny to look back on now because we are getting into what the Dolphins look like now in the offseason. Now, they did fire Mike McDaniel. They do have a new head coach now and a new GM. And what does that mean? A whole lot of turnover. We're not talking Tua. We are talking Tua, actually. We're not talking Tua turnovers. Tua turned the ball over.
Tua got turned over.
Tua turned the roster over. But there has been a lot of transactions for this Dolphins team so far this year. There's a lot of team favorites that got released this year. Alec Ingold and Jason Sanders are cult classic Dolphin heroes, and they both got cut this year. They released Bradley Chubb. They cut Tua. And earlier on, they traded Minkah Fitzpatrick. What are we doing? There's a lot going on here, and that's the tip of the iceberg.
Well, I mean, it's like the Duck song for Jalen Waddle. And he waddled away, waddle. And he waddled away, waddle, to a winning team. Bum, 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 ba-dum. Well, I guess you just got to do what you have to do. And, I mean, I was surprised Jalen Waddle went as well. But for any Dolphins fan like Jonathan Raines, specifically it happened on his birthday that they let go of Jalen.
That's terrible.
Jalen Waddle walked away. It's just, I don't know. Was this team ever really in the spotlight, or was it all just because of Tua?
Oh, no.
I don't know.
Oh, all right. Speaking of Tua, we need to get to this part before we cover the rest of the transactions with this Miami team. So obviously they designated him to the post-June 1st cut. That was pretty obvious that they were going to do that.
The dead cap hit?
This is the dead cap, yes. So he signed to the Atlanta Falcons on a vet minimum. I think it's a great deal for the Falcons. They get to get some competition, another lefty in that quarterback room to compete with Michael Penix. It might be an iron sharpens iron kind of situation. It might turn out to be a dumpster fire. It's probably going to be a dumpster fire. But we will see. We like to be optimists here on Stirring the Pot.
Not really.
No, we don't. But the Miami Dolphins, through 2 years, they are going to split a massive cap hit for Tua Tagovailoa. Can you guess the number in dead money?
$41 million.
A lot more.
Well,
Per
I have
year?
the number in front of me. That'd be
120
No,
million.
not per year. You're close, but lower.
110.
115.
$99.2 million in dead money.
that
That's
the
the
biggest ever?
most in NFL history. So it's going to split over 2 seasons. In 2026, they're going to have $55 million in dead money on their roster. Ridiculous.
And
Just to say, screw off.
I think that's why they're beginning the full teardown because, like, I mean, you made a good point, Dom. Like, was this team ever really that good?
They weren't ever really.
They were
tried.
They were a playoff team. They were a competitive team for a couple years. But I mean,
Not even.
I feel like they really neglected. Just that's before. Like they neglected the parts of the roster that kind of you need. They had all the sexy, the fast parts, like the fun parts that you expect for like a fun offense. But when you have bad offensive line, a bad defensive line, your secondary, that's terrible. I mean, we did their cornerback depth chart last week for our mock draft.
I would say they were a more.
I'd call it an illusion.
For the 2-year stint, an above-average team, but not the good above average.
I think it's like
That
an
makes
illusion.
sense.
To me, it's an illusion. They look good,
So
but they were never good.
I'm going to give some numbers here while Connor looks at some stats. Their total cap hit for dead cap hit, mind you, for this season is $179.2 million.
It's 182.
Did it go up?
Yes, it did. 60.5% of the team's entire cap is dead money.
I wonder who the most
This
recent
season.
one was because I have all of this year's in front of me.
So the primary dead money hits for this team are Tua, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Jalen Ramsey, Minka, Bradley Chubb, and Teron Armstead. And none of them are none of them are going to be less than $10 million.
You're missing a funny name on the list.
Who?
Zach Wilson, $3.8 million.
Wow.
How
Yeah,
How is he worth that
Tua's
much
is 55.4, Tyreek's is 28.2, Jalen Waddle's now is 23.2, Jalen Ramsey is 20.8, Minka's 12.9, Bradley Chubb's 10.9, and then Armstead's 10.7. Then you get into James Daniels got released 4.8, and then Alec Ingold as well, and then Johnny's still also in here.
So
How
put
much
this
in total was that?
$182 million in dead cap.
And that is on
1 year.
non-active players on that roster.
Yep.
So, what are we doing?
So what it says here is that the Dolphins are trying to take they have $120 million left to spend on players. The entire roster. To put that in perspective, do you know what the NFL salary cap was in 2018? $177 million. That would be over the salary cap in dead money in 2018. That's ridiculous. And so what they're going for with this, if you don't follow cap, they're trying to go for a very young, very unproven roster. So in layman's terms, they're tanking.
I mean, listen, everybody's hyping up that next year's draft class is going to be one of the best of all time. And guess what? They think they have their quarterback. There's a certain receiver from Ohio State who's going to go
Jeremiah
high,
Smith.
and they're going to be a bad team next year who they very much could end up on the Dolphins. I mean, I think it's the right move. I mean, this team, we saw, they had flaws the entire time. They weren't beating good teams. They weren't winning against cold weather teams. They weren't winning these grind-out type games. I think they made the right choice. I mean, the fact that they have their quarterback, they think they can build around him, Malik Willis. We'll have to see how he actually plays, but I like that they kind of just completely said, we're going to reset. Let's get all this dead cap out of the way as fast as possible. Not try to drag out, like, it's like a swift death. Like, it's like a just instead of like trying to just drag it out over a while, just get it all off now.
Rip the Band-Aid off.
Rip the Band-Aid off. Start voting the new team right now. You have 2 draft picks this year. Who hopefully you trust in that your new John Sullivan, your new GM, can make the right pick and get some young blood in here. I think you kind of. I mean, it's not a very stacked division right now.
I don't know if you it's not a stacked division with New England on the
You have
rise
You have 2 free wins.
and the
They
Buffalo
You
Bills.
have 2 free wins.
Yeah,
Well,
you
the
do
thing
have 2
is,
free wins.
half the division's like good, and then half of the division's garbage.
The Bills are
so
a
it's
flawed
so
team.
it's
garbage.
like,
They
so
will
it's
get-
so it's an
Bills are a
average
flawed-
division.
For reference, this year this division will end up playing the NFC North. There's no way Miami will get a single win from that.
They probably
They're
want.
gonna
They probably
get-
want
You
it.
never know.
That's probably a good thing for them.
Probably
That's what they
wanna
want.
beat them.
I think for Miami, the Miami Packers, as I call them, because you have John Eric Sullivan as your GM, you have Jeff Hafley as head coach. In order to make a rebuild proper and successful, you need to rip off, like kind of John said, and Connor, you also mentioned, rip off the Band-Aid. I think if Tua's dead cap was $70 million, I'm not even kidding, Miami probably would have took that in 1 year because that's at least more manageable. You can cut some costs, you can move on, and then you can have a clean slate. I think really, though, for Miami, they'll have now 2 firsts, right? I think so.
They have 2. Yeah, they have
two
yes,
firsts.
Denver's
Got one
first
from
and their own
Denver.
first.
it would not be the worst situation in the world for Miami to trade down. If you are focusing on next year's draft, like John's mentioning, because if you can get that many picks in the 2027 draft, and it's supposed to be as good as it seems, there is a possibility that you can potentially pull, as some might call it, the rebuild of the century.
So, to say this, for Jalen Waddle, they did get a first-round pick, his 30th overall from Denver. They got a third-round pick in this year's draft, and they got a fourth-round pick swap. So they moved down in the fourth round. They had the 111th overall pick, so they got that for the 130th overall pick. But in that sense, they did get a third and a first for Jalen Waddle, which I think is great value, especially the fact that he's young, he's very proven, he's got back-to-back-to-back pretty much Pro Bowl seasons. I don't know if he was a Pro Bowler every single year during that span, but it's a lot of talent that you're getting out of there, but you're kind of saying, hey, we're going to suck this year. We're going to bite some curb this year, and it's going to suck for 1 year, but then after that, hey, we might have a bit of an outlook because they did sign Malik Willis to that deal. I know a lot of people are very up in arms about that. 3 years, $67 million for a guy that's started, 5 games in his NFL career?
Quarterback money is just the joke.
Absurd.
It's absurd. I mean, it's just it feels like $20 million.
It was better than the $40 million that was being reported per year. That would have been ridiculous.
That
If
was
Miami
the-
would have
that
given
was-
him that.
That was Rosenhaus or whoever's name.
Oh yeah,
was.
that's the
Yeah.
agent. Which, I mean, as an agent, you should do. But I mean, if you're Miami, you just have to basically tank. As sad as that is to say, but I think it also, I give Miami credit in this, I guess, situation for not trading Waddle at the deadline because they were stand pat. If they wanted a first-round pick or they weren't moving Waddle, I don't think teams gave him a first in that.
The Bills offered a second. They said no.
Because they wanted a first. You stand pat on what you want originally. Denver eventually comes in, gives you that offer. I think the third and fourth round, kind of swap situation, is to match capital as the draft board or the draft pick chart, as we like to say. All right, forget. I think Jimmy Johnson invented that. I think something like that. It basically makes it like draft picks are worth X amount of points. That's probably why to make it sort of even value. But for Miami, you got what you wanted, and you're cutting cost. They're doing the right thing.
So, I've got 2 questions to pose to you guys here. So, if you're the Miami Dolphins, actually, I'll save that question for last. Do you think this team could legitimately go 0-17 next year?
No, know why?
Because they're going to beat the Jets.
Two Jets games. Those are going to be sins against football.
No, I don't think that they'll go 0-17. I think they'll have I'm going to say it's going to be like a WVU type format where the ceiling's either going to be 4 wins or the floor could be 2. And that's, you're going to play 1 or 2 teams that maybe has it just – actually, no. There's not really a team in the league that has it as bad as them. This is like –
Okay, I found the opponent list. So the home games are Buffalo, New England, the Jets, Chiefs, Chargers, Bears, Lions, Bengals. Away, Bills, Patriots, Jets, Raiders, Vikings, Packers, Colts, Broncos, and Niners.
They need to sit.
Okay,
they need to pray 9 starts
thing-
those Viking games.
I only see 2.
Okay, funny thing, I think they're going to beat the Niners. I think they're going to pull something.
That sounds –
I think they're going to pull something.
I say 2-3 wins.
It's a sunny state. You never know.
I think the NFC North is just going to wipe them. I think that's pretty obvious.
Buffalo's going to wipe them.
Buffalo's gonna sweep New England. I don't know.
I think they could drop one of those.
They might drop one of those.
New England has due for the annual Super Bowl recession year.
I think they split with the Jets. I think they win each other's away games because
Raiders.
that makes sense.
He always split
They
somehow.
could beat the Raiders, but that's
No, I think the Raiders are gonna mop them.
Cool.
I have a lot of faith in this Raiders team next year. I think they're gonna be fun.
I think
I don't think they're gonna be
I think
good.
it
I think
depends
they're
on
gonna be fun.
how early do they get the Raiders. If they get the Raiders early in the year when Mendoza's still learning, there's a good shot they might be able to win that game.
The year, so they might
If they
lose.
get them late in the year, yeah, I think the
Ooh,
Raiders
that's
probably
like a
take it.
2-win team.
I mean, the schedule doesn't come out for another 2 months, so we don't really know week-by-week basis. But if this is where Mendoza comes in, could you see Raider win? Maybe. But they had a lot of defensive pieces added on that. That's why I don't think there's just no way.
Okay, so 2 more questions then for you guys, and then we'll end this episode off. So say you're the Miami Dolphins. 1, do you think they have what it takes to get the number 1 overall pick next year? And if you have the number 1 overall pick, what direction do you go?
If I was the number 1 overall pick, well, assuming that they have it, this is next year's draft.
Yes.
Now
this
way too early for.
It's early to call it, but it depends on what you think of Malik Willis and what you think he could do as a starting quarterback.
I don't think you should go quarterback next year. This year's not fair to Malik Willis. It's not. You have tough competition. You don't really have any pieces or weapons here to give him that supporting roster, that supporting cast. I mean, look at other teams where they bring in rookies that have like a better. Anytime a rookie quarterback does really good, they typically have a really good. The team has the roster ready for that rookie. This team, opposite way around. You need pieces, so you need something on the offense. You need to rebuild something there. I'd say they should trade down actually for more capital, so that they could add more pieces.
So tentatively, the wide receiver core the core offense for Malik Willis outside of Devon Achane is probably going to be Malik Washington and Jalen Tolbert.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I think they could add to that with their 29th pick. That's what I'd say.
They could.
This year's pick?
Yes.
Do you think they're going to pick a wide receiver?
Wouldn't shock me.
Honestly, they need a lot.
I don't think that's terrible.
Huh?
O-line makes sense.
Yeah,
Scott Armstead just retired.
You could get a good.
The problem is that this O-line class I don't think is very good.
Yeah. But I mean,
we've seen better.
Going back to your question, Connor, I mean, I think I agree with Dom. I think these are two guys who they work with Willis in Green Bay and Halfley and Eric Sullivan, so they know him. They clearly trust him a lot, and I think you're right. He's not going to get a fair shake this year. Not everybody's going to say Jeremiah Smith. I would not be shocked if this is a team that drafts one of the 2 edge rushers that come out next year in Colin Simmons or Dylan Stewart. I mean, we Halfley worked with Micah in Green Bay. You saw how impactful he was to that defense. Really changing it right now. I think corner's going to be addressed this year, and I mean, you're in a good spot because everybody's saying this is going to be a very quarterback heavy class next year. So even if you do manage to win some games by some miracle, you're still in a spot to probably you might be able to get the best non-quarterback on the board in this draft.
Dylan Stewart does seem like a fit here.
To be fair, Micah Parsons could impact a party with no music.
Pretty much. I would say more of a safer side of Miami will get a top 5 pick. Number 1, I don't entirely know, but at least top 5 to 3. You're in that range. And if you're in that range, and if you want to go, well, okay, we'll say we have pick 1 if you're in Miami here in my instance. It really depends on how Malik looks with garbage talent. And you can't really judge him too much if he doesn't have much weapons. But at the same time, there was a certain quarterback in Green Bay that sat for a couple of years, played, and was pretty good because of his time sitting. Not comparing Arch Manning to Jordan Love or anything, don't get me wrong. I mean, Manning's a much better prospect coming out of the draft, or most likely coming into this draft. If you were to take him at 1, let him sit, you can get some other talent. This is where the late round drafting matters. If you draft good amount of late round talent in this draft and the next draft, you can take a QB at 1 and still be fine, because then you'll get that wide receiver, you'll get that offensive line in those later rounds, so then you can spend top pick at a premium position and be good in the future because of it.
Yeah, I think this has potential to be a Malik Willis trade value gauge year. I think they might try and find something to go away.
I don't think so.
I think, well, if you can get capital for him, if he plays well, why would you not?
At the same time, like, if he plays well, like, quarterbacks are not – once you have that guy, I mean, you don't want to walk out the door, see Sam Darnold.
It's the Dolphins.
We forget this is not a rational actor here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he can't really be. I don't think there's a way he looks that good to the point of where you don't think about not trading him.
I just think that connection in Green Bay is so important for them because it's not like the Jets bringing Fields, who just didn't know him that well. They know Malik Willis from the Green Bay, and they clearly have a lot of faith in him.
Yeah, I think if they end up with the number 1 overall pick, there is going to be internal talks about them trading down with it. I think there's a very high chance that they take Jeremiah Smith. There's a big chance. It just depends on how Malik looks. It depends on how the defense looks. The defense is probably going to suck. So they might take a defensive player.
So Jets draft a cornerback this year.
I could definitely see a Dylan Stewart kind going to Miami, just because they need that kind of work on that defense just to rebuild it from the ground up. But another question to you guys before we end it off. If you're the Dolphins right now and you're a Dolphins fan, how long do you think this rebuild realistically takes before you're somewhat competing again?
What is that? And what do you call it? Somewhat like wild card,
Like
fighting for a
competency?
playoff
Like
spot?
until you're fighting for a playoff spot again.
4 years.
I'd say 3-4.
I'd say 2.
I was going to say 3.
If you draft properly, it can be 2 to 3. But if you draft like you've been, it's
I don't
probably
know.
4.
This division's just on the rise.
Decade.
You never know. I mean,
This division's tough.
Don't ask
You
how
say-
many
you say
years I've
there's-
been rebuilding.
sometimes teams get caught in the trap. I mean, depends. I mean, I think it matters how much faith you have in Jeff Hafley. I'm not really that high on him, but I mean, you never know.
I don't
So
like him.
I'm just more concerned that I don't know. New England's dynasty is restarting with Vrabel. That's no longer free wins anymore. It's a lot tougher now, and every single game counts. And Miami has not, even when they had an okay team, the one that we've been talking about, they weren't able to beat a good quality winning record team, and they used to thrive off of getting these wins off of either the Jets or New England, who was suffering without Brady, Gerard Mayo, whatever mess they were in. They had easy schedules. They just got lucky in the teams that they played. And you also have the Bills dynasty. Even if it's just Josh Allen, I don't think that he's lost to the Dolphins that much in his career.
Well, here's the thing, though. We talked about it earlier. Why did those 2022, 2023 Miami Dolphins teams lose? Defense.
O-line.
Defense and a mix of O-line.
Everything outside the offensive output.
Pretty much. You hire a defensive head coach who, from what it seems, has a track record with building relationships with his players. I know a lot of Green Bay defenders were sad to see him go, but we're happy to get him that head coaching opportunity. You need to build those defensive relationships in Miami and then draft offensively. You have to mix them together in some way to where it equals out in output and you can actually start winning, which it'll take a couple years. This is not going to be a next year thing.
Yeah, this is going to be a long, long road for Dolphins fans.
This is going to be painful.
It's going to suck, but I think in the end it'll end up paying off. Obviously, you're going to miss players like you might miss Tua. You might. Some people will. Some people won't. It's not everyone's cup of tea. But this Dolphins team eventually will try and get back to the contending arc that they were in 2023. But before we end it off, anything else you guys want to say about the Miami Dolphins dumpster fire?
All you got to do is score more points than the other team. It's not that difficult.
It is.
Have fun being in the bottom of the league where I've been for my entire life.
I
So
cannot
much fun.
wait for the Jets and Dolphins games next year.
And with the true
Crimes against
Invincible
football.
reference, let's just play that Billie Eilish song when the party's over, because the party's over for the Miami Dolphins.
I can't wait to watch the inevitable Joe Flacco start against the Dolphins while Joe Burrow's hurt.
Are you sure?
This is going to be fun. Are you sure?
Yeah, you got re-signed.
All right.
Shout out Joe Flacco.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Stirring the Pot. We'll be back at you guys next week. We don't know what we're going to talk about next, but we're getting down to mock draft season, so we will catch you guys next time. See ya.